So, as far as Godzilla and Kong, the new empire is concerned, it picks up from where we left off in Godzilla versus Kong. Kong is sent back down to Middle Earth to apparently where he came from in the first place. Godzilla is still roaming up on ground level where everybody can see him in plain sight. So that's his kingdom. And then Middle Earth is where Kong is left to rule and do the fuck whatever he wants, basically. So as long as they don't, bump heads, the world is good. No cities getting damaged. No people getting squashed at the feet of either a gigantic lizard or a gigantic monkey. So Kong's down there, but he's lonely apparently. He's really lonely as far as like he's got all this land to roam down there in Middle Earth, but he's got nothing to do and nobody to do it with. So I don't know if there are any other female Kongs out there or apes, female apes, big enough to satisfy the needs of a big boy like King Kong is. And I don't think that applies either to Godzilla, unless either or might bump into that one kaiju that's a female. But then would that be Mothra? Because Mothra's good. Mothra's good with Godzilla. I don't know how good she is with. Well, I'm also assuming a gigantic moth will be female. So I don't know my monsters like that. Forgive me. So maybe I'm misgenderizing Mothra. I have no clue, and I can't confirm that either. But I would think maybe Kong and or Godzilla. Again, if we're assuming Kong's a big male ape, and Godzilla this time around ain't asexual. It's actually a he or a she or who knows. Might want to look for some kaiju pussy amongst themselves. But then, would that be the real battle if they find the one female kaiju and they're both jealous and they both start fighting again, like Kong versus Godzilla round two? This time for who gets the fuck? I don't know. There could be that factored in. But basically, again, they're kept separate for the sake of we don't need them fight no more. We need them to collab together eventually, if anything, to save us from other kaijus and monsters that might appear. But it's a fun intro to the movie again because it's Kong just like doing his Kong thing. He's here, he's there, swinging, jumping. He's fighting off like these hybrid lizard, wolf, dog things that are like look super like really dangerous. But he's Kong, of course he can't lose, and he's too human like practically a wrestler in a gorilla suit. One of them tries to jump on him and bite him, of course, to death, but he grabs one and to assert dominance in front of the crowd of the other lizard dog things. He just grabs one and just rips him in half overhead and showers in its bloody guts. Well, it's not red blood, it's like green, oozy, I guess you would assume would be what makes up a monster type of blood. He's green afterwards, basically. It was a cool scene, and literally, like maybe 5 minutes into the movie starting is when you start getting like monster guts getting spread and thrown around like that, courtesy of Kong. So there's no lacking in action because then they cut right over to Godzilla on the surface level on Earth, ripping apart and just blasting through a goddamn it looked like a king crab almost, which would be creepy because a gigantic crab with however many legs crabs have, just like stomping around. Instead of 2 feet, now you got like 6 to 8 feet to worry about, just like stabbing through your building and interrupting your conference calls while you're on lunch break or whatever. Godzilla blasts through that thing with the greatest of ease. Meanwhile, back to Kong, as he asserted his dominance in front of the other monsters and they leave him alone finally, and he ripped the other one in half. He takes one half, he's eating and munching through it, but then the other half he wants seconds. It's getting dragged off by some lizard shit, whatever. Snatches it from him. He takes a bite of something, I forget what exactly. But it's so hard that Kong actually chips one of his fangs, I guess you'd call it, on the thing. It's chipped, it's visible. With today's special effects, there's no way of hiding that shit. It's very highly detailed and believable. So I would love to have asked the dentist if they were present in the audience, viewing the flick, how they felt about the detail and the how accurate it is, display the crack throughout the whole tooth that Kong's got going on. And what would the procedure be in that case to fix that if that happened to someone in real life? But I guess I didn't get that chance. Maybe one day I'll ask. I'll ask and ask him to watch that scene and ask specifically, like, what's your take on that, doc? And that leads to Kong openly expressing through his face and his grunts, like, ooh, that he openly misses being on the surface level. But he knows he can't be there because Godzilla's there. That's his realm, and it's best to stay away unless he wants to get fucked up again. Well, however you determine whoever won that last fight, it's up to you. I still say Godzilla took it, but whatever. That's Godzilla versus Kong talk. This is Godzilla and Kong we're talking about this time. Then it cuts back to I didn't recognize her from the last film because she cut her hair, I guess, for the character and in real life, obviously applicable. The scientist that was studying this thing to begin with, the one that adopted the little girl that was able to talk to Kong through a puppet and telling it, hey, point here if this hurts, or point over here if Diddy touched you here, whatever. To the point where Kong learned sign language, this gigantic ass fucking ape doing sign language, which one pinky finger on it is probably the size of the girl in question. But this girl starts getting premonitions and visions of like Kong being distressed, needing help, someone to talk to, call better help or something like that for Kong. And the lady is trying to really explain in a way that Kong, which is being monitored now at all times while in Middle Earth, needs more, maybe needs assistance, maybe needs a friend, something like that. It's a lot of like a white savior complex going on too, like her trying to uh, human splain to the others what this gigantic ape must be going through and or feeling being one of its own down there. But of course we'll realize later that Kong ain't the only one down there. It's a lot of them down there. You just never saw them or found out about them. He just thought he was the only one the whole time. So he's like all lonely and shit. He's playing Akon in the back. I'm so lonely. Oh, I'm so lonely. However it sound. Meanwhile, we got Godzilla, who made its brand new home, its resting spot, and of all places, the Roman Colosseum. And that was actually inspired by the director's cat, of all things, because I saw somewhere that the director revealed, oh, I saw my cat doing that, and I thought, why not let Godzilla do the same thing so he can kind of win over the crowd a little bit since he was such a jerk during the last film and the last couple of films. It's crazy to see. It was fun. It was, I'll admit, adorable, of course, from a safe distance. But imagine anybody in that scenario looking up at a gigantic, abnormally sized lizard god entity who could blast you away with nuclear plasma and shit and going, aw, at any point. I would like to pet a Godzilla, but then also there's such a thing called zoos that have iguanas. I forget what kind of iguana it was, but there's one specifically that looks a lot like Godzilla now, but just, of course, 1,000th of the size, which, I could hold it in both hands and, like, pet it and shit. But that's the closest I need to get ever to wanting to pet Godzilla. I just thought that was funny, but cute to include nonetheless. And because of the overwhelming pain that Kong is experiencing from the chipped tooth he suffered down there in Middle Earth, he finds his way to get back up to the Earth's surface to let them know, hey motherfuckers, I'm here. I'm early for my dental appointment so I can fill out the paperwork in advance. Give me a banana. I'll just fucking make do whatever signature I gotta slap on that thing. Please tell me my insurance covers this, by the way. Let me know my options before you do anything, dentist, doctor. Please. As Godzilla should, anybody should too. You always got to make sure before you have anything done, medical, dental, whatever, make sure it's covered. Call the company. Make sure it's covered. I work for health insurance. Believe me, it'll pay off in the long run. It'll save you a headache if you do in advance. Please do your part. The crazy part about the whole aching tooth on Kong is that they're able to not only contact a self-titled what was it, like monster dentist? I forget what they called it, but a titan dentist, I think they called it. This guy from Australia, of course he had to be Australian, he'd be the one to know how to not only treat the tooth but yank it out as he did via an airlift and a crane, and install this new titanium ass, like black metal looking ass tooth for a Kong he just happened to have laying around, shoves it right in there. I don't know what you use to even stick that tooth and make sure it stays in there, how much of the like dental paste they use, but it stayed there the whole time. I'll admit it looks nice. It looked like Kong could only afford one tooth versus a whole grill being done for his teeth. It does look cool, and it comes to his advantage, as we'll see later on too. Um, it was an odd scene. It was a very It was quirky, definitely. Was it necessary? I don't think so because we already get like that's one of two scenes where Kong gets an upgrade of sorts. I guess we could have done without this one because it just adds nothing to the story. While it was done in a way where it's cool, and I'll let it slide pretty much. But I could have done without it, considering we get the other transformation part later on in the film. That's just me though. I don't know. Everyone who's studying Kong and Godzilla is disturbed because they notice that Godzilla has now woken up, sensing danger in the atmosphere, and heading off to France to suck up all the radiation possible and prepare in advance for what's to come. They don't know what's coming yet, but they're trying to figure that out to see why is Godzilla distressed. Who is getting Godzilla so distressed? Is it Kong again? God damn it! Well, no. Kong goes back down to Middle Earth after getting his tooth replacement done, and I'm guessing, he's waiting on his explanation of benefit letters and or claim approval, hopefully letter afterwards in maybe 7 to 10 business days. Down on Middle Earth, goes so far down further Middle Earth that he finally finds the subterranean realm, which is the haven for the other Kongs that exist beside him. So we don't know if he was actually named King Kong or if he just self-titled himself as King Kong. But there's King Kong now, and then there's a little tiny like shit colored one, doo doo brown colored one with big green eyes. It looks disgusting. Not a fan of that little monkey. You know what I mean? The animals. You know what I mean? The primates, literally. And then there's a gang of like scarred up, fucked up looking Kongs that are just ready to pretty much kill Kong on sight just because I guess he has immaculate fur, he's got no scars, he's got a brand new tooth and shit, so he's really feeling himself, or they're looking at him like what a lot of the girls without the BBLs are looking at the girls with the BBLs like, with envy, with hatred in their eyes. Why don't I have that BBL yet? Why can't I afford a BBL yet? To be out here getting posted up and dry humped by Drake when he's not too busy crying about having to diss his besties, Cole and then Kendrick. I don't know. But they gang up on him. It's a really cool fight part because, but then again, it's also one of those where, like, how is this not a human doing a motion capture and making it too obvious that they're trying to, maybe envision what a overly athletic, you know, sports inclined ape will be able to defend themselves against like three other grown apes and one tiny monkey. But it is a cool scene still. I mean, because you get to see a lot of, beat monkey on monkey action. This one's beating that one, and Kong is basically just, reversals. He's like a little bit of Jackie Chan. He's like a little bit of Jason Statham. He's like a little bit of fucking Chuck Norris. Just figuring these things out as he goes along. He's getting hit. He's getting beat. At least he's taking a beating, but he keeps on coming back for more and beats them all up. He lets one fall off the cliff after he helps him up, gets him up from back off the cliff. The other one, instead of saying thank you, or ooh, thank you, whatever, pulls out a shank from somewhere. And of course, Kong, practically like Charles Bronson, one man army, grabs the shit, takes it from him, it kicks the motherfucker 300 Sparta, kicks the other guy off the thing. He's presumed dead. And now he's taking the fucking little child monkey type of thing as hostage prisoner and tells him to lead the way to the other Kongs, since now he knows they exist. And along the path, oh yeah, during the fight, I forgot to mention, yeah, it was really funny because the first part where he encounters a little ape, it's a tiny little thing, so even Kong's like, oh, how cute, whatever, and ooh, cute, whatever, right? Approaches him. The thing looks like it might want a friend, or it's leading him into thinking that, but then immediately he bites one of his fingers. Kong's mad, throws him aside, and in the middle of the fight, he grabs a little fucking Kong and uses him like a pair of nunchucks and just starts whipping on the other ones too. So he used him as a weapon, he tossed him aside, and now he's taking him hostage like some Kratos and his son type of shit for the rest of the journey, pretty much. In which the little shit, which I've dubbed him as because he is a little shit throughout the thing and annoying, leads him purposely towards a body of water which contains a water kaiju, a big ass, long, huge ass snake that Kong has to battle, of course, because the little one set him up for a trap. The presuming that that thing would kill him right away. But of course, Kong has to win. He can't lose. He can't die. What the fuck? What's the point of the movie then? Godzilla Kong, one of the guys is gonna die like that? Holy shit, it got windy outside. He's able to behead, aka kill, that big water kaiju dragon thing and toss the head aside. They have a little bonding moment as far as like, oh, I just ripped this thing, organ from organ, guts all spilled out on the floor here. Here, have a bite to eat since you haven't eaten nothing since I beat the shit out of you and use you as a weapon against your own kind too. I don't want to leave you that mentally scarred. At least have one good memory of me, considering I'm the bigger primate of the two. Eventually, the little piece of shit leads him down to the subterranean realm, the like, I guess the center of the earth, if anything, because there's a lot of magma and shit going on. To the rest of the Kong civilization, which there's a whole bunch of Kongs down there. Amongst them, he has no idea they were down there. He was just like on the top level of Middle Earth. So like he was in the penthouse, and all these other guys were down in the furnace room, or the compacting room for the garbage and shit. Had no idea they existed. So he's down there. He's seeing all these other Kongs that look just like him. And of course, there's a big baddie finally of the movie gets revealed. Because this whole time you're wondering, wait, it's Godzilla and Kong. Why ain't it Godzilla vs. King Kong 2 then? Now you see, there's another goddamn Kong. And he's the king of the Kongs down there. And he goes by the name of Scar King. Why is that? Because he got a humongous scar against his chest and his face too. He's tall, he's lanky, he's red. You would think, or first impression, just looking at him when I am doing nothing, Scar King that is, how is this guy a threat? How is he the king of all the other Kongs? They look all built and muscular like King Kong does. But then when he swings into action, because Kong, of course, has to challenge him as the king of the Kongs, then you see why. Because he is a big, lanky, very formidable ape, considering he is not big or bulky like Godzilla, like King Kong, excuse me. But he's like super acrobatic. He's like Jeff Hardy. He's like Rey Mysterio. He's flipping and diving and doing this and that. And on top of that, too, he's got one or two things immediately available to him in the fight. One in the fight, which he uses effectively, is like this, I guess you call it a lasso, but it's made out of I would guess the skeletal frame of a dragon or snake of some sorts. It's like a bone whip, pretty much. Uses that shit, tangles him up, fucks him up real easy. And then on top of that, too, he's got his own kaiju. He's got his own Godzilla as his pet, the Scar King thing does. It's insane. I forget the name. I looked it up before and I forgot what it is. But let's just call him Icezilla because it literally looks like Godzilla, just all white, and it blasts ice. And the cool thing about it was that was in kaiju, logic and theory or history. It's the one that caused the whole ice age because it just got so distressed one day, just ice blasted the whole world, and that caused like the ice age, the death of dinosaurs, all that shit too. So this big ass gigantic ice blasting kaiju Godzilla-esque looking thing is the pet of Scar King. So there's absolutely no way King Kong's gonna win this shit. Not against those odds. The bone whip, the super acrobatic Seth Rollins of the King Kong kingdom, and then on top of that, a pet Godzilla that blasts ice and freezes part of fucking Kong's arm in the battle. He actually tries to engage the thing. He has no choice but try to escape it. But in the midst of trying to fight it off, he puts up his arm when the fucking thing blasts ice from his fucking breath. And guess what happens, of course, as it would in real life, because this is King Kong, not Sub-Zero. He's holding his arm up. He's taking all that ice, direct impact on the arm. What happens to the arm? It starts getting frozen. And he starts getting frostbite too. It did get frozen solid at one point, but he's so brolic, he just sort of bust it open, make it a knuckle. And then all of a sudden now he's noticing pain. He can't feel nerves from like the elbow down. So potentially he's got nerve damage and he's got frostbite. So it's eating away in his arm. And Godzilla goes on like a spree in the meanwhile of killing other kaijus that have the powers he needs to actually power up and level up for war. I forget the name of the one he attacked, but he went underwater to attack another one that had like even more powerful nuclear shit going on in his body than Godzilla does. Kills him, takes over, hibernates in this fucking place, and absorbs its power so that now it's really, really strapped and ready for war. And then we cut over to King Kong, of course, which, as we mentioned, he suffered frostbite during his fight with the ice Godzilla like creature. And he makes it to where the humans are in Middle Earth because they're down there to see him because they're like, something's wrong. If Kong came up here and now he's back down there, we're getting distress signals. We got to go down there, check up on him. He finds him. He collapses in front of him, but only after being able to do in sign language to the girl, I got a big ass boob on my arm. Please save me. My coverage doesn't include urgent care, so that's out of the question. What's their solution to it? The Titan dentist slash animal doctor veterinarian to the MONSTERVERSE is able to immediately see the arm, because who can miss that humongous arm, of course, too. He's able to see the nerve damage. He's able to see what happened to Kong. He's debilitated. He's weak. He's half the ape he's ever been before. His assessment, and conveniently enough for the movie, that sort of logic, he has a prop they can use to protect the arm further with and enhance it, if anything. So officially, this is the part where Kong, of all things, goes through a transitional phase. Kong is trans apparently now because now it's been leveled up with a mech arm of all things. They just happen to have this prototype project thing they were working on but got canceled. Once the prototype was completed, the government didn't want to fund it no more, but they just have it stored away in Middle Earth. The guy comes back to grab it. For some reason, the song of choice while they're strapping up the mech arm to King Kong is a Kiss, I Was Made for Loving You. Which, I mean, I don't know if that was the right song because unless he's going to start beating off with that mech arm and then the mech arm gets a life of its own, AI powered and shit, and just goes like, King Kong starts jacking himself off to death. I don't know about I Was Made for Loving You being the right song choice, for that scene at least. I would have gone with just about anything else like old school rock. But then again, there's also this thing now with movies, since Guardians of the Galaxy did it right. Every movie wants to just throw in old ass rock songs and think that's just gonna make everything 100 times better. But there is such a thing as selecting the right song that makes sense of it all. But Kong is officially strapped up now, ready for war with a mech arm. They of course have to say, oh, he may not take to it, he may not like it, his body may reject it, but of course he starts flexing his shit. He starts pounding the ground. He loves it right away because now he knows, oh, I'm fucking ready for war. I'm strapped up. Let me out on those streets and grab Godzilla. And he knows already. He's got to go to Godzilla's turf. He's got to drag him into battle to save them from Scar King, because Scar King now knows Kong exists. So he's taking his ass, his bone whip, and the fucking ice Godzilla to sniff out Kong and eliminate the humans. Meanwhile, the humans already discovered like the old civilization that the little girl was a part of, because she's from like an old ass native Asian tribe. She was presumably the only one left of the people, but again, they find a whole tribe of them down there. So then Kong has to go up to the Earth on Godzilla's turf to find him and wave him in. Godzilla, of course, is going to misinterpret this as, oh, you want to fight me again? Let's go around two and shit, whatever. But no, it's Kong trying to signal him, hey, come with me. I need your help to defeat these guys coming to get my ass because I got, over my head with beef and shit. And he's got a whole ice dragon and shit in monkey language, whatever. But Godzilla ain't hearing none of that. He's over on the Rock of Gibraltar. King Kong's over in Egypt by the pyramids, of course. And then Godzilla springs into action. He dives into the water. He pops back up. He sees Kong. And Kong, in the midst of trying to explain everything, no, chill, bro, chill. No, cap. No cap. Busting for real. I'm trying to tell you something. I'm standing on business in here in front of the fucking pyramids. Godzilla ain't hearing none of that shit. He's just running towards him, heads down, like a fucking linebacker would or a tackler would, and gives him the cleanest on-screen movie spear. Better than Goldberg ever did, better than Rhino ever did, or the Gore, if you want to call it that too. Right through a pyramid of all things. So again, we are leaving no cities out on this planet as far as who's going to get it worse. And now on top of that, they have no respect for historical landmarks, because Godzilla's taking a nap in the middle of the Roman Colosseum, his old big scaly ass, made that home, and now they're wrecking one of the three pyramids. I forget if they wrecked all of them, but definitely the first one was demolished with that spear that Godzilla gave to Kong right through it. There goes fucking Egypt's economy down the fucking toilet because who's gonna pay for two pyramids when you were promised three? Imagine you booked the trip to the pyramids after Godzilla fucked up Kong through one of them, right? Loses value. Saves you the fucking trip on camel, but then again, if you're going to Egypt in the first place, I would think you'd want all the pyramids, not just 75% of the pyramids there. We used to have one, but of course, as you've seen in the news, if you're not stupid or living under a rock, well, that happened. Sorry. They fight. It's a really cool fight scene. But of course, the whole point is for Kong to convince Godzilla, or at least try to drag him down to Middle Earth to help him out in the battle against Scar King and all them. So they both finally make it down to Middle Earth, only after Godzilla has Kong pinned down and ready to just blast away his whole face with just nuclear vomit that he's about to unleash on him. Mothra comes back to life, tackles him out of the way, and in their monster kaiju titan language, they say, hold the fuck up. And come with me, come with us, me and Kong, because we need you to triple team fucking this immediate threat coming to destroy the whole earth. And if they make it to our realm, they're gonna destroy everybody, enslave the humans and shit. You don't want that. And like Godzilla's pretty much like, say less to Mothra, acknowledging Kong's like, alright, we're gonna have to collab on this one, but just one time only. And they all do the collective little rah thing, of course, the signal, it's on now. Now they're all going down to Middle Earth. Somehow somebody forgot to pay the gravity bill, so there's zero gravity. They're floating in midair, fighting and spearing each other and just, unleashing and shit. And in the midst of that shit, I forget who led the way, but one of them went one way and then the rest just followed, and then they end up in a portal that drops them down in the middle of Brazil. And how you envision Brazil too, Rio de Janeiro, of course. Beachside, buildings, and bitches running crazy on the beach. But of course, I was scared. I was gonna say like, oh my god, they're gonna go for blasphemy on this one just to really sell this shit home. But as they show Rio de Janeiro, before they like just drop their big asses in the middle of the fucking beach and shit, they show the Christ the Savior statue like up high on that hill, wherever in Rio de Janeiro is placed. And I thought, holy shit, one of the monsters are gonna really take it up with Kong thinking he's God and Godzilla having God in his name too, and just like bone whip the shit out of that statue and be like, I'm the king, I'm the God here, whatever. Not that I'm religious, but it would have been crazy to see, and I probably would have been laughing my ass off because of just seeing that whole statue getting wrecked, and then possibly people in the news or online demanding that Kong and Godzilla get canceled because of the blasphemy and shit. But we didn't get that. They destroyed everything else pretty much in Rio de Janeiro, building wise, business wise, economy wise, all that. And they froze the beaches too. So the bitches are fucking frozen, the BBLs are frozen solid and stiff. Probably more than the bad job they got done by the local doctor, because God forbid a girl can afford to even get a BBL done in this economy, let alone a fucking properly done one in a ventilated basement or something. But they're frozen on the beach. They're fucking each other up. You got the Ice Godzilla teaming up with fucking Scar King versus King Kong and fucking Godzilla and Mothra when it decides to make an appearance, and the fucking tiny little monkey that's now good buddies, chummy with Kong, actually helping out in the battle too. They're just fucking up Brazil left and right until the little ape finally breaks the crystal that controls the Ice Godzilla via what Scar King's holding in its hand, destroys it. Ice Godzilla finally breaks free of the control it's been under via Scar King, and it freezes Scar King in the midst of action. He tries to jump on Kong, but it gets frozen like I just mentioned. Kong grabs him, holds him up high overhead like the Ultimate Warrior did Hulk Hogan before he hit him with the Warrior Splash, but we don't get that here. Grabs him and just smashes him frozen solid into the ground of Rio de Janeiro, what used to be Rio de Janeiro, as he explodes in just bits of ice and blood. What's left of Scar King? Not even a scar left on him. He had a scar his whole life, and now he's been reduced to fucking nothing. Meanwhile, the whole time, the humans, as they do, humans gonna human, the white lady scientist the one that cut her hair, remember? She's all panicked and worried about having found that whole tribe of people where the little girl comes from, because again, she's mute, so they only speak through sign language. And shout out to the ASL community, and deaf community. She's all worried about, well, she found her people now, so of course she's going to want to stay with them. I'm out of the picture. I'm out a daughter, adopted at least. So now I'm going to be all lonely and bad haircut at home, late at night, laid up under a blanket watching, God knows what on Netflix nowadays too. Um, but again, she assumed, like a lot of white people do. The kid has to break it down to her in sign language. No, stupid. I never said nothing about because I can't speak. I never said nothing about staying here with my people. You are my home. Where I go, you go. Where you go, I go. You are my home and my heart, and all that shit, sappy shit. They hug. They, oh my God, I'm sorry. I was just playing white savior again. I'm sorry. I promised I wouldn't do that. And they're good. Everybody's good. I forget the black dude's name, Brian Tyree, something like that in real life, but he's always good and funny in this shit. He's able to record endless episodes of his podcast on the, kaiju Titan verse and everything. He's set for life. I guess the dentist slash Titan animal doctor. They were already friends, her and the guy. So maybe they get together. They make a little family with the deaf girl and shit. Who knows? But that's pretty much the end of it. And then on top of that too, Kong is happy down there, Middle Earth. He's determined to just enjoy himself, the time he's been afforded down there. And then of course we got motherfucking Godzilla going back to Rome exclusively. Guess what? To lay up and curl up in his spot, formerly known as the Roman Coliseum, now is Godzilla's resting spot, and goes back to sleep until danger arises again. That is. That's Godzilla vs. Kong well, not so much in a nutshell, but long story less long, I would say, I would hope, I guess at least. So what I think of Godzilla and Kong the New Empire. After all that's been explained, Kong is officially trans now, Transformer, because the mech arm. Godzilla is pretty much a cat in its nature as far as how its catty behavior, trusts no one, and curls up like a cat when it takes home and shelter in the Roman Coliseum of all places. The humans are gonna human. The white lady plays savior all the time, assuming she knows what Kong's going through, assuming that the little girl wants to go with a tribe instead of live with her because she has a cushy life already. And on top of that, she's deaf. So then the whole people there have to learn sign language just to talk to her in the first place, just to even say hello. That's gonna be a whole fucking like a month's worth of trying to even decipher that shit if she were to stay with the tribe and shit, right? Everybody has a happy ending, presumably at least, until the next MonsterVerse film we get. How did I feel about it? Overall, I had a good time. It was a pretty enjoyable watch from start to finish. Just under 2 hours, I think. Maybe not even 2 hours. I think just short of it, which I think is the sweet spot. The action is immediate and quick. It doesn't make you wait. It doesn't blue ball you to like the very, very end to get like one fight that hopefully might be worth it. You get a couple of fights, more than a couple. A great couple of deaths portrayed, courtesy of Godzilla and Kong. Fatalities, I guess you could say it in those terms. Overall, a fun watch. I mean, again, and also the great thing is the humans weren't a huge part of the movie. There were some parts where it's like kind of corny, cheesy that they're involved and they're so like quippy and smart, whatever. But it's not overdoing it. It's not overstaying its welcome with the human factor involved. It's mostly about Kong, a little too much about Kong, and Kong being way too emo at the end of the day for as huge a fucking monster as he is. It's surprising to see it feel so much as it does. And then you got Godzilla. Plenty enough of Godzilla. Would I say I wanted more Godzilla in this one? I don't know about that, but I think we got just enough to satisfy the palate and enjoy ourselves like I did too. So, out of a possible two, what the fuck will I give Godzilla and Kong the New Empire? I'll be honest, because it's a guilty pleasure for me, and I enjoyed it so much, and I would probably go see it in the theaters again. I found a new theater by me here in Queens, actually. Was it Cinemart Cinemas? Like, technically Forest Hills, but I don't count it as Forest Hills because it's like way too far from like Forest Hills, but whatever. I think the ticket was like $10, and this is during the day too on a Saturday. So I'd say that's plenty cheap for all the other prices considered at a regular theater, which is like I think what $20 for a ticket now, unless you're under 18 or like really fucking old and have no business watching movies in public anyway. And then you got to pay for the popcorn, which is like $9 for a small and shit. No, this is like $10 for the ticket and $5 for a small popcorn, which is plenty big enough, like as big as my head, pretty much. So shout out to them, Cinemart. I think it's Cinemart Theaters over in Forest Hills. Small, cush, not the most luxurious looking theater, but it's holding up pretty fine. The ticket is cheap, the screen is big enough you can appreciate it, and the seats don't creak or smell or stink too much. So there's also that too to consider. So shout out to them. Out of a 2, I'm going to give this, to be quite honest, a 1.25. 1.25 out of 2. Is it great? I'd say it's great. I'd say it's great fun. I don't know about a great movie. I'd say it's good. I still enjoy Godzilla 2014 the most out of anything. A close second would be, I guess I'd say Godzilla versus Kong, the one before this one. Up in the air between King of the Monsters and Skull Island. I'd say I put this one over King of the Monsters and Skull Island. How about that? Because it's both of them. We get enough of both of them. Again, a little too much Kong, but, especially Kong being emo. But otherwise, no gripes, no beef with this movie. And it wasn't too long either. Didn't overstay its welcome. So, yeah, I'm good with that. A 1.25 out of 2.
Yo, it's over. All right, it's over. It's over. Move the mic. Move the mic.
Thank you.
All right.